Hi everyone, you are watching part 2 of my interview with Amalia Crevani, a talented vocalist and music student at DePauw University. In part 1 of our interview, we talked about her experiences as a singer and what it's like to study music in college. In this part, we'll be talking about Light Shadow by Giacomo Meyerbeer from the opera Dinorah, which she'll be performing for us at the end of the video. I hope you enjoy! Next, we will be moving on to discuss the piece that you'll be singing for us at the end of this video. It's called the Shadow Song in English, but it's called something else in French that I can't pronounce. Would you mind saying what it is for our viewers, Amalia?
Yes, it's called Ombre, légère. So it's called Light Shadow.
Great.
Or,
Oh, yes. So that is from the opera Dinorah. Is that correct?
yep.
And who composed it?
Giacomo Meyerbeer.
Great. So could you just tell us how this piece fits into the opera as a whole and what the opera is about?
Yeah, so to try to give you the least convoluted answer, since operas tend to not be straightforward with their interesting plot lines, essentially the main character, Dinorah, has been left alone from her to-be, husband-to-be, has left her alone for a year in search of a magician on a mountain who has a treasure. And so she, in her solitude, she starts to lose her sanity, and her to-be husband, Ho, in pursuit of this treasure, brings along this travel companion, but there's this twist that whoever touches the treasure first will die. And so Dinorah, out of anger and revenge and madness, basically follows them and kind of haunts. It's a comedic opera, but even though it doesn't sound comedic, she haunts the travel companion with fierce coloratura, and basically she warns him that that Hurl's only using him to die so he can keep the treasure for himself. But then she falls tragically, and you think she's dead. But then everyone finds her again. She's reunited with her to-be husband, and he apologizes and realizes that he was a fool for trying to go after this treasure, and they forgive each other and get married.
That sounds really, really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So the aria from the opera takes place when Dinorah is following them, and she's in the woods, and she's alone, and she's alone with her goat, and she sees her shadow on a rock, and she notices it, and then she falls in love and loves her shadow so much she starts to dance and sing with it and play. So it's kind of like she's losing touch a little bit with reality, but also in like a very childlike way, and I think that's reflected in the music.
For this opera or any opera in general, what do you do to get into character?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I think with each character, I think it changes a little bit, because just like how different characters vary, just like different people. I think that's the same for delving into a role. For me, usually it's looking at what's in front of me first, and trying to stay away from like acting technique it does influence a lot of what I do, but generally what I try to do is just look at like what I'm given, what are their circumstances, what are the relationships around them, what are they saying. That's a big thing, especially with translation. Understanding what they're saying, and like their attitudes towards things, and then why. And I think that starts to get us into the psyche of the characters, and then additionally, where it applies, understanding background work of who these people are, and what they want. And yeah, so essentially, it's a lot of that for me is through writing. I like to write a lot of stuff down, and then also relate to personal experiences obviously I didn't chase a man to a magic mountain with my goat, but understanding the pain of, and almost delusion, feeling of heartbreak as an example. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting because, yeah, you're basically becoming a different person when you have to do that.
So yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
So how long well, I know since this opera is in French, you had to like learn the pronunciations, of course, of a different language. How was that experience for you? And what other languages did you have to learn in other operas?
Yeah, that's a really critical point when studying classical music, and sometimes it can even be a barrier in getting people interested in classical music. But I think that's one of the things that, when embraced, can be really and done in a way that can reach everyone. I think it can be a really beautiful component in what makes classical music what it is. For in terms of studying languages, yes, the more languages you can study, you can know, the better. And beyond just usually there's like a standard, like you should know Italian, French, German, and English pronunciations for singing. But classical music goes beyond that, as with Spanish and Polish and Russian and more and more and more. But I grew up in a bilingual household, so speaking English and Italian was already helpful for me. I have been studying in school German, and I'm moving on to French this semester. But yeah, definitely. And I took Spanish all through middle school and into high school. So yeah, languages are very important, and especially too a lot of schools not only make you study the language, but then there's the phonetics and having to know how to pronounce things properly for the sole purpose of singing too. So there have been many classes dedicated to both throughout my studies before and during college.
So great. Yeah, that sounds like it takes a lot of work, of course, learning any language would. On to the next question. So what portion of this piece did you find the most difficult to learn?
I think the whole piece is a challenge. I will start there. It's just rapid coloratura. Like someone just hated their soprano there. But no, so it's definitely it's very technical. It's very fast. It's very melismatic. But I think the most, so those quick moving, very flourished sections are probably the embellished sections are probably the challenge, and nailing the notes, particularly having but not only just making them like clean, but also I think that the biggest challenge then, I think the piece is very repetitive, and a lot of there are a lot of pieces that have several repetitions, and so I think but this piece in general, in particular, has a lot of repeated sections, and so I think and then repeated sections within different sections, and I think having to not only like accurately sing the piece, but then to understand why the composer wrote what they wrote. And I think with this piece, for example, not only are there fast moving sections but that repeat throughout the song, but they also repeat in like little mirrors, and so then delving into why that is, and then it's because she's singing with her shadow, and so then one is her and one is the shadow, and then understanding, well, like that informing artistic choices, and how would one want to express that. So I think it was a exciting piece to delve into, because not only is it challenging technically, but I think intellectually it has a wide range of ways to be done.
Yeah, and I think that's applicable to any classical music piece, really, like getting into the composer's mind to like ask yourself, why did they do this? So yeah, that's great. I can't wait to hear the piece, and it should be coming on right now.
Ombre légère que si mi mano tova no 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 feu chimère que me si chere tova no 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 courons ensemble je peux je tremble quand on devant loin de moi ah scimmiere che mi si scerere dopo no, 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 curroso stove je pece trouble quand on est loin de moi. Ah, 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 ah. La 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 danse la 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 reste reste avec moi.
That was Amalia Crevani. She just played the Shadow song for us. That was lovely singing, Amalia.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for coming on this interview, and I hope we can have you back one day in the future.
Me too. It was great being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye.